You took the short path. You cheated, Diana. That is the truth. That is the only truth, and truth is all there is.
But I would have won if you didn't.
But you didn't. You cannot be the winner, because you are not ready to win. And there is no shame in that. Only in knowing the truth in your heart, and not accepting it. No true hero is born from lies. Your time will come, Diana.
When?
When you're ready. Look to the Golden Warrior, Asteria. She did not become a legend out of haste. She did it through true acts of bravery. Like patience, diligence, and the courage to face the truth. One day, you'll become all that you dream of and more. And everything will be different. This world is not yet ready for all that you will do.
mbere yuko tugera mu rugo buri muntu wese aba yamaje kwigabanya akazi yewe mu minsi mike ndaba ngiye ajya kugisha njye gushaka amahanga as I told you, you remember always whatever I told you. Remember my son, what I told you. You're supposed to hear and understand the advice of the old man or old woman. Whatever they will tell you to advise, you're supposed to understand them and then follow the advice what they give. And first of all, what they tell you, you will analyze what they tell you, and then also you will take your last answer as you yourself. You're supposed to call yourself in the meeting, you and yourself. You're supposed to ask yourself, even I can do this and be like this. Even if I can do this and be like this. Even I can do this and be like this. As you see, every time whenever you follow this attitude, it will help you to go in the different areas. And you will grow up until when you will be old one. Yes, my son. You understand me? And you all of you, come here. Remember what I told you. Be careful. This is a lie. This is a lie. You remember the advice what I told you. You're supposed to remember follow the advice of all young people. Whatever they say, call you on yourself in the meeting. Ask yourself, even I can do this, it will give me this answer. Even I can do this, it will give me this answer. On that, it will give you the way you want. It will give you the answer. Thank you, my son. Let us go at home, and then also I will go to tell your mother.
Winner.
wabigenza. Iyi ni imikino I need you to go to write something you that we use to play that our game. Hurry up. Ugahita usimbuka ni sawa noneho niba ubicuze nawe n'amara yawe usimbuke neza ukaza kugeraho ukaza kumura bikuretse ukaza kumura kugamba bikakambura ukaza kurugerera uzaba uza kurunyura imyaka yanjye igiye kugera ngiye kujya kurugerera kandi umuco umubyeyi ashobora n'umwana yabyara gusa nyine ugiye kubaza gusimbuka abana simbuka turebe Aguki aho ushinga ikirenge cya nyuma niho turashyira akantu akamenyetso icyanjye dore kirareba hano imbere ni sawa ukurikiraho n'inde ndabona ari kenga waje imbere kenga gerageza uragerageje cyane icyawe ndakirebesha hariya muri kiriya cyerekezo ukurikiyeho n'inde tuzapfira ku rugamba simbuka habyitonde ni sawa ibintu ukomeze ujya inyuma kabanda wowe na kega muracyanganye shaka uzareba uzarusha undi. Ariko n'ubundi byose ni kimwe. Sawa, kandi muzi. Question? Ninde ufite ikibazo cyo kumbaza? Ninde uzabaza? Cyangwa ikibazo cyanjye ni kimwe cyangwa birakanga? Sawa, nsagire kuri kaba. Wowe wise. Ikibazo mwese mufite ni kimwe?
The Earth, a giant mass of rock and water flying through space. It's unlike any other planet we know because it supports life. It's not just our home, it's the only safe haven we have in the universe. But how did it get here? What strange force? Less than 30 seconds on our clock. The next stage of the Earth's evolution was incredibly violent. As these 20 planets orbited the Sun, their gravity affected each other, and they began to collide. With each collision, 2 planets combined. Over time, these collisions reduced the inner solar system to just a few planets, including Venus, Mercury, Mars, and Earth. Astronomers believe that the Earth grew to this stage in around 30 million years. We are now just 5 minutes into our story. But what was early Earth like? What would happen if a human had landed here? The energy from the collisions with other planets made the Earth incredibly hot. At around 8,500 degrees Fahrenheit, its temperature is more than 5 times that inside a cremation furnace. A human would almost instantly disappear in a puff of steam and ash. But even as our planet cools down, another danger threatens. A storm of charged particles is approaching the young Earth. It's so intense that it could end all chance of life. 4.5 billion years ago, a giant cloud of dust collapsed to form our solar system, the Sun, planets, and Earth. But as the newly formed Earth began to cool, it faced one of the biggest threats to its existence: a hurricane of deadly particles from the Sun.
To our surprise, something as complex as a planet is made from nothing more than dust and rocks. Over millions of years, gravity pulls these rocks together to form the Earth, one of at least 100 planets circling the Sun. 4.5 billion years ago, Earth looks more like hell than home. Up close, the temperature is over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. There's no air, just carbon dioxide, nitrogen, and water vapor. It's so hot and toxic that if we got any closer, we'd be incinerated and suffocated in seconds. This newborn planet is a boiling ball of liquid rock. An endless ocean of lava. A young planet called Theia is heading straight for Earth. The size of Mars, it travels nearly 10 miles per second, 20 times faster than a bullet. The intruder's gravity distorts the Earth's surface. The blast wave races around the planet. It's as though both young planets turn to liquid. Trillions of tons of debris blast out into space. But over the course of 1,000 years, gravity turns the rubble into a ring of red-hot dust and rock that circles the Earth. From this ring, a ball forms, over 2,000 miles wide. It's the birth of our moon. But it's much closer than the moon today. Just 14,000 miles away, instead of 250,000 miles. The sun rises over a cooling Earth and sets just 3 hours later. The Earth is spinning so fast that an entire day lasts 6 hours. The days may pass quickly, but the Earth changes slowly. To understand the making of our planet, we need to fast forward through millions of years. $3.9 billion years ago, a hail of meteors attacked the Earth. It's debris left over from the solar system's formation. Inside the meteors are crystals that look like grains of salt. And inside the crystals are minute droplets of water. These deadly missiles could contain the vital ingredient for life on Earth. Only a small amount of water exists inside each meteorite. But as they bombard the Earth for over 20 million years, pools of water grow. The Earth's core remains molten, but its surface has cooled enough to form a crust. The air is around 170 degrees. In the future, there's a chance we could swallow this very water. Every sip, every puddle, every drop of water in every ocean is billions of years old. And it may have traveled millions of miles to reach us, carried inside a meteor. The Earth looks more familiar, but it's still a dangerous place. Winds are faster than the most destructive hurricanes today. It's a megastorm, whipped up by the planet's rapid rotation. The moon is so close to Earth that its gravity is overwhelming, creating huge tides that race across the planet's surface. But over time, the moon moves away, the waves calm down, and the planet spins slower. "700 million years after the planet's birth, life-giving water covers its surface. And scattered throughout are tiny islands. They seem to have appeared from nowhere. So how did they get here? Molten rock bursts through the Earth's crust and rises up through the ocean. Over time, the lava cools, forming a volcanic island. In the future, these islands will join together to form the first continents. Earth now has water and land. It's beginning to look like the planet we call home. But the atmosphere is still toxic and the temperature is scorching. Life here is impossible. Since the planet's formation, meteors have been pummeling Earth. But now, 3.8 billion years ago, the assault enters a violent new phase. Some things disturb the orbits of these meteorites. In addition to water, the meteors carry something else. As they dissolve, the meteorites release minerals. Carbon and primitive proteins made of amino acids are transported from outer space to the bottom of the ocean. Thousands of feet below the waves, it is dark and close to freezing. But a dramatic illusion is taking shape. Underwater chimneys spewing hot liquid. Seawater seeps down into the earth through cracks in the crust, collecting minerals and gases along the way. This potent mixture is released back out into the ocean, building these towers. Combined with the minerals and chemicals from the meteorites, the water becomes a chemical soup. It's impossible to know how or when, but somehow these chemicals come together to create life. The water is now full of microscopic organisms. These single-cell bacteria are the earliest forms of life on Earth. This is a defining moment in the making of the planet. Microscopic life is underway. For hundreds of millions of years, nothing changes. The only life is single-celled bacteria. To find more complex life, we need to fast forward to 3.5 billion years ago. And a shallow ocean. These look like rocks, or even plants, growing out of the seabed. Each had been moving again. A new continent now exists, Gondwana. It's 90 degrees and oxygen levels are close to what they are today. The land should be covered with plants and crawling with creatures. But there's not much here, besides a few patches of algae. There's only one explanation. The sun. It blasts the surface with deadly radiation. So the complex life in the ocean doesn't stand a chance on land. But 30 miles up, where the rays enter the Earth's atmosphere, something is happening. When oxygen meets the sun's radiation, it turns into another kind of gas called ozone. This gas forms a blanket around the planet and absorbs the lethal radiation. Over 120 million years, the ozone layer gets thicker and prevents more and more radiation from reaching the Earth's surface. Without this layer, life on land simply wouldn't exist. Now, shielded from radiation, life takes off. small mossy lumps are the first land plants. They pump out even more oxygen. Levels soar. $375 million years ago, a new species lives in the water, swimming. It's a strange fish called tiktaalik. It uses its neck to raise itself up. And its fins function as legs, allowing it to move out of the water. This is one of the most important moments in the making of our planet. Over 15 million years, creatures like these evolve. They grow stronger limbs and spend more time out of the water, where plant life is exploding. Until 360 million years ago, their relatives, called tetrapods, make the land their home. From tetrapods, four-legged vertebrates evolve into dinosaurs, birds, mammals, and eventually, humans. There are mosses and ferns everywhere, some at least 100 feet tall. A seed is carried by the wind. Until now, plants reproduced using spores, single-celled particles that need plenty of water to grow. But this seed is miles from water. This embryonic plant has its own food and water supply. Unlike a spore, this seed can survive far from water for months, even years. The humble seed spreads life across the planet, and each tree and plant pumps out even more oxygen. It's an environment very much like today. The planet has come a long way, from a lump of burning rock and dust to a blue and green world bursting with life. There are now fish, plants, and this. It's now 200 million years ago, and just one supercontinent, Pangaea, stretches from pole to pole. After the trauma of the mass extinction, the planet heals. Temperatures stabilize. The acid rain neutralizes and vegetation returns. With 95% of all life on Earth wiped out, the field opens for a new species to emerge. One that will dominate the planet like no other. The dinosaurs. These are called dinosaurs. Like all dinos, they evolved from the reptiles that survived the Permian extinction. At 15 feet tall, their size makes them slow and vulnerable. Nearby is the Dilophosaurus. It's small and fast. The Amosaurus is too big a meal for one Dilophosaurus, but not for two. The dinosaurs have repopulated the Earth. But no species can tame this restless, volatile planet. The Earth's crust is thinning. It's releasing lava and shaking with earthquakes, as if being stretched by some unseen force. It's also happening near what will become North America's eastern seaboard. The Earth's plates are on the move again. 190 million years ago, the great supercontinent of Pangaea teared. Like before, currents deep beneath the Earth's crust move the plates again. The entire seafloor tears in two and is pushed up into a ridge of mountains and volcanoes. It grows higher than the Himalayas and longer than the Rockies. The water here is hot, as molten lava forces its way out from deep inside the Earth. As the lava cools, it creates a new range of volcanic mountains and a new ocean floor. Pangaea breaks apart, and our world rearranges again. It's this geological activity that makes the Earth restless, creative, and unique. And every time the planet reinvents itself, its inhabitants adapt and evolve. Like the ichthyosaurs. Their reptile ancestors lived on land, but as the planet changed, so did these animals. They grew fins and moved into the newly formed Atlantic Ocean. This one is 20 feet long and can travel at a quick 25 miles an hour. It's the ocean's fastest creature and most efficient predator. It rules the oceans for 50 million years. But now, there's a new contender. Longer than a bus and as heavy as a truck, its jaws are 8 times more powerful than a great white shark's, with teeth 12 inches long. The Earth and its inhabitants have changed beyond recognition. This was once solid ground. Now it's the Atlantic Ocean. The very spot where Amazons grazed and Dilophosaurs stalked their prey. The dinosaurs' world may be different, but they're as dominant as ever. They appear invincible. They're one of the planet's most successful species. They've survived volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and entire continents splitting apart. The dinosaurs have thrived for 165 million years. A number of mammals have also survived, like this shrew-like animal. They're prey to the dinosaurs, so they live in trees or underground and venture out only at night. Mammals pose no threat to the dinosaurs. Nothing on Earth can challenge their dominance. Nothing on Earth. A large piece of space rock heads toward Earth. This asteroid is at least 6 miles across and traveling over 40,000 miles an hour. It's bigger than Mount Everest. And heads straight for the Gulf of Mexico. It travels so fast that its impact would be missed in a blink of an eye. A split second changes the world forever. At impact, the asteroid's back edge stands at 35,000 feet. It strikes with such immense force that it destroys everything it hits. The asteroid itself instantly vaporizes. Unleashing the energy of millions of nuclear weapons. Nowhere is safe, with debris flying everywhere. Debris as big as entire city blocks circle the Earth. The blast wave races out from the impact zone like shrapnel from an exploding bomb. Minutes after impact, hundreds of miles from where the asteroid struck, the Earth is under attack. Boulders rain down. Earthquake. Like before, currents deep beneath the Earth's crust move the plates again. The entire seafloor tears in two and is pushed up into a ridge of mountains and volcanoes. It grows higher than the Himalayas and longer than the Rockies. The water here is hot, as molten lava forces its way out from deep inside the Earth. As the lava cools, it creates a new range of volcanic mountains and a new ocean floor. Pangaea breaks apart, and our world rearranges again. It's this geological activity that makes the Earth restless, creative, and unique. And every time the planet reinvents itself, its inhabitants adapt and evolve. Like the ichthyosaurs. Their reptile ancestors lived on land, but as the planet changed, so did these animals. They grew fins and moved into the newly formed Atlantic Ocean. This one is 20 feet long and can travel at a quick 25 miles an hour. It's the ocean's fastest creature and most efficient predator. It rules the oceans for 50 million years. there's a new contender. The pliosaur. Longer than a bus and as heavy as a truck, its jaws are 8 times more powerful than a great white shark just begun. The plume of molten rock and dust spreads out and engulfs the planet. The entire sky acts like a giant lamp. Heating the Earth's surface to over 500 degrees. Vegetation spontaneously ignites. Even months after the impact, smoke and ash still block out the sun's rays. And with less sunlight, plants die and the animals starve. 65 million years ago, the impact has blasted, stoned, and burnt the dinosaurs. Their 165 million year reign is over. But the dinosaur's demise brings opportunity for another species. A mammal. By living underground, mammals have avoided the heat and fires. And by eating anything, they thrive, while more selective eaters die. They're the unlikely inheritors of the dinosaurs' crowd. And as one story ends, another begins. With the dinosaurs out of the way, our ancestors may now have a chance at life. The dinosaurs are long dead. The planet is peaceful. In this new world, our mammal ancestors are evolving. "47 million years ago, this lake, in what will one day be Germany, is the perfect place to spot them. Unlike earlier mammals, its eyes and brain are bigger. This is Darwinius massilae, or Ida. She looks nothing like humans, but fossil evidence today indicates that these creatures might evolve into monkeys, apes, and eventually humans. Looking back through 47 million years of evolution might reveal one of our earliest known ancestors. The lake sits on a volcanic crater. It belches out noxious gas that eventually kills Ida. The lake preserves her in its oxygen-depleted depths. One day, when the water is gone and alive, a vast mountain range rises up over 27,000 feet. These are the Himalayas. And the highest mountain of all, Mount Everest. Its summit reaches up into the Earth's jet stream, the same altitude where planes fly. When the snow on the peaks melts, it feeds rivers like the Ganges, Indus, Yellow, and Yangtze. The Himalayas are like a vast water tower. One day, their rivers will supply water for almost half the world's population. "20 million years ago, this is our planet. With every continent and every ocean as we know it. Except one thing is still missing: the human race. And for humans to evolve, something needs to change. Along the African coast, a great rift opens up.
You took the short path. You cheated, Diana.
It stretches nearly 4,000 miles. With mountains growing along its edge. This ape-like creature may stay in these trees forever. This ape-like creature may stay in these trees forever, but its world is changing. The growing mountains act like a wall, prohibiting moisture from the Indian Ocean from passing over the land. It's getting hotter and drier. The lush rainforest becomes an arid savanna. The new hotter climate changes the creatures' habitat, forcing them to search further for food. Soon they stop dragging their knuckles like apes and begin to stand and walk on 2 feet. It's the most important step in the human story. This mountain range could be the reason humans walk on 2 feet. The random movement of two plates may have kick-started a chain of events that leads to the first humans. A man and child, a scene very much like today, but it's 1.5 million years ago. They are an early species of human called Homo erectus. And these are the first footprints like our own. Civilizations past and present. Everyone that's ever lived, the greatest inventions, the most brilliant ideas, human history in all its complexity and splendor begins here and now. The climate changes again. 70,000 years ago, sea levels fall, and the gap between Africa and Arabia shrinks to just 8 miles. The Red Sea is now narrow and shallow enough for a small group to cross out of Africa. They're another later species of human called Homo sapiens. Scientists believe that the entire world beyond Africa was populated from descendants of these 200 individuals. Over time, our ancestors multiplied and spread out to India, onto Asia, and into Europe. But while humans head north, a giant wall of ice travels south. Europe, 40,000 years ago. Homo sapiens arrive, only to find a world that's quickly changing. It should be the height of summer, but it's getting colder. The plants are frostbitten, and the rivers are frozen. Natural changes in the Earth's orbit, CO2 levels, and the flow of warm water around the planet conspire to lower the Earth's temperature. The Earth and its inhabitants enter an ice age. Glaciers as high as skyscrapers creep over the northern hemisphere about a foot every day. Slow and powerful, they sculpt the landscape, gouging out great to a halt. Much of the northern hemisphere is covered by ice sheets up to 1.5 miles thick. With trillions of gallons of water locked up as ice, sea levels fall. A strip of land emerges from the ocean between Siberia and Alaska. It's a bridge between two vast continents. A gateway that takes humans from Asia to a new world, the Americas. They're the last great continents to be colonized, the last great human migration, and the first Americans. Now, 14,000 years ago, the changes that triggered the Ice Age reverse. As the ice retreats, it reveals a very different northern hemisphere. The huge depressions that the glaciers create fill with water to become North America's Great Lakes. Six 6,000 years ago, the ice retreats back to the poles, toward the Arctic and Antarctic.
You took the short path. You cheated, Diana. That is the truth. That is the only truth, and truth is all there is.
After a 4.5 billion year journey, we're finally home.
You cannot think to win, because you're not ready to win.
This is our world, our time.
Only in knowing the truth.
The planet's incredible story helps us understand how and why everything around us is here today. From the skies above to water, the essential ingredient for life, to the ground beneath our feet, and finally, life.
One day, you will become all that you dream of and more. And everything will be different. This world is not yet ready for all that you will do.
The Earth. A giant mass of rock and water flying through space. It's unlike any other planet we know, because it supports life. It's not just our home. It's the only safe haven we have in the universe. But how did it get here? What strange forces of nature